here in my lonely room. You treat me so unkind, I nearly lost my mind. I wonder if you care.
I'm Tim Owens, the longtime producer of jazz at National Public Radio and creator of NPR's Peabody Award-winning Jazz Profiles, a radio documentary series on the people, places, and things in jazz. The Jazz Profiles shows, nearly 200 of them, are part of the Tim Owens Jazz and Broadcast Collection at the University of North Texas Music Library. And in a partnership with the 32 Bar Blues Foundation, we've picked a handful of noteworthy shows to share with you. With my gratitude to the many producers who helped make the series possible, and my special thanks to the series host Nancy Wilson, we hope you enjoy this presentation of Jazz Profiles.
People ask me questions about the way I've spent my life. 30 years in showbiz, only had one wife. Limousines and swimming pools, I didn't get my share. But I'm not downhearted, I am not downhearted. I'm not downhearted, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I recently had the thought that I could probably do an interview and just quote myself. Just quote the songs. From quotes from songs, I could probably cover pretty much anything anybody wants to ask me about myself.
Mose Allison has been called the William Faulkner of jazz. He's a true American original and a study in contrast, a pianist from the rural South who has become the voice of the urban blues, a songwriter of deceptive simplicity whose universal perspective, comic genius, and down-home honesty has made him a cult figure here and abroad. I'm Nancy Wilson. On this edition of Jazz Profiles, we'll hear the songs and examine the life, times, and the conundrum of Mose Allison.
No matter how I'm feeling, I still propose a toast. If you're almost successful, you're better off than most. If I was selling fantasy, I'd be a millionaire. But I'm not disillusioned. I am not disillusioned. I'm not disillusioned, but I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
From blues to bluegrass, jazz to country, R&B to rock and roll, we're moved by the proud sound of American music. Welcome to 32 Bar Blues, a fresh groove in the men's clothing world, a place where true originality, craft, and style are valued like the art forms we celebrate. Never curated or private labeled, we design and make the majority of our styles in-house. Cool clothes with enough funk or personality to make you smile, but easy to wear for most any venue. And like our name implies, 32 Bar Blues was born with a heart for the arts. Since our first collection in 2012, we featured more than 100 musicians, writers, and photographers on our pages, giving all profits from the sale of their work directly to them. We also promote a handful of nonprofit arts organizations that deserve extra support. To check out the 32 Bar Blues collection and learn more about our commitment to the arts, visit 32barblues.com.
Mose Allison never did anything with an eye toward securing fame or fortune. For 4 decades, he has pursued an artistic vision that has grown as he has grown, bucking the trends and fashions in a music business that has become more business than music. His record sales have been modest, to say the least, and he's never made the cover of a single jazz magazine. But from time to time, especially early in his career, one of his songs, like Parchman Farm, would break through and capture the imagination of a wider public.
Well, I'm sitting over here on Parchman Farm. Well, I'm sitting over here on Parchman Farm. Well, I'm sitting over here on Parchman Farm, and I ain't never done no man no harm.
Pianist and singer Bob Dorough.
I think he's one of the greats, and he probably should have been a bigger star. If he'd have just got down there and sung Parchman Farm every night, I think he could have been a great star.
Well, I'm putting that cotton in a 11-foot sack. Well, I'm putting that cotton in an 11-foot sack with a 12-gauge shotgun at my back.
But Mose refused to play the game, choosing instead the warrior's way. Weekends and one-nighters across the country, picking up rhythm sections and documenting his journey through his songs.
Been working in nightclubs so long, can hardly stand the break of day. Been working in nightclubs so long, can hardly stand the break of day. Run down rooms and bad pianos, but it's still the only way.
The road has been his mistress.
I think I've been playing 220, 30 nights a year, something like that.
Why does he do it?
I once said that the main thing I like about trying to do what I'm trying to do is I know that it's impossible. Because, you know, to play real first-rate jazz piano and sing and write your own material and make it all happen and carry the load night after night is pretty big order. And I used to say, you know, if anybody thinks it's easy, you know, try it sometime.
The artistic challenge is Mose Allison's driving wheel. It's something he grasped taking aesthetic courses as a college student, an idea that caught his imagination in a powerful way and gave him a new vision of what his life could be.
That got me to thinking, you know, about the country blues and all the stuff that I'd grown up with. It gave me a different perspective completely, you know. I got to thinking, well, man, this music is art. It's an expression of emotion, just like, you know, the great paintings and the great composers and all that. So it gave me a different way of looking at the music.
Since then, he's lived the life of an artist in a world of commerce, recording his observances and commenting on the spiritual crisis of his times.
I can't believe the things I'm seeing. I wonder about some things I've heard. Everybody crying mercy when they don't know the meaning of the word. Nobody knows the meaning of the word.
If the story of Mose Allison ended here, it would still be a triumph, for he has earned himself a place in the jazz pantheon. He invented himself as an artist, defined a style, and generated a body of work that is significant, unique, and still growing. But the story doesn't end here. In fact, it may just be beginning. Because finally, during November 1996, the #1 record on the Billboard Jazz charts was titled The Songs of Mose Allison. How did this happen? How did a man determined to hoe his own path and indifferent to the winds of fashion wind up on top? Like so much in American music, it was shipped back to us from abroad. Record producer Joel Dorn.
I just remember when I was at Atlantic, lots of the English cats would come over, the bands that we had, Cream and Zeppelin and all of those. And when you'd hang with these cats and you'd be talking in the hallway or, you know, in the studio or something, invariably Mose's name would come up.
Mose Allison's biographer, Patty Jones.
Mose turns someone like Pete Townsend on, And Pete Townsend turned somebody like Stone Temple Pilots on. I mean, it's just like this heritage, this legacy that Mose Allison is a part of that link in that chain. And without him, you wouldn't have the other people.
Van Morrison, who had the idea to record and release the songs of Mose Allison.
Well, I've just always loved his songs and trying to get, more of his more recent songs out, rather than the ones that everybody's heard, like Cryin Mercy or Parchment Farm. And try and get some of the other stuff out that no one's heard because the records never got promoted, they got buried.
You say the world is mad. You say that you've been had. You don't like your part in the flow show. You say it's all a bust. There's no one you can trust. Well, now tell me something that I don't know.
Quietly and over several decades, Mose Allison has become a hero to the best of the British pop, blues, and rock musicians. His message was their message, and his striving to make something new out of the blues was exactly what they were struggling with. Mose himself is a bit bemused by his newfound notoriety, and his reaction to becoming an overnight success is classic.
Oh, yeah, Diana Barrymore wrote an autobiography, and it was called Too Much Too Soon. So I always told everybody that when I write my autobiography, it's going to be called Too Much Too Late.
Mose Allison's life is the stuff legends are made of. He grew up in the small crossroads town of Tippo, Mississippi, in the fertile Delta region. It's the same county that produced so many musical giants, from Muddy Waters to Elvis Presley, pop staples to B.B. King. Actually, town is too grand a word. Mose Allison.
I was born in 27, and I always tell everybody I had 2 good years because the Depression came in 29, and all those farmers were scuffling around. So it was a very poor area, a lot of poor people, black and white, and a lot of sharecroppers, black and white.
Longtime friend and musician Buddy Jones.
On Saturday nights, there was a warehouse across the road, and they would have the dances with the major blues performers of that Mississippi Delta region. He used to go listen to, he said, Lightning Hopkins one night, and the next Saturday be John Lee Hooker. And he was just a little kid, but because his dad ran the store, he was allowed to sit on the back steps there, and nobody bothered him, and he got to hear all that good music.
Music was everywhere in Tippo, Mississippi. Moses said he didn't really need to search out the blues as a young man or go back to the well later in life to replenish its influence. He was of the South, and its stamp was upon him. Like his father before him, Mose grew up loving the popular music of the day and playing piano for fun and profit.
My dad was musical, and there was a piano at home there, There was always a piano in the house, and I took lessons for several years, but I never did learn to read that well. I'm primarily self-taught, and as soon as I started, I found out that I could pick out tunes by ear. I sort of lost interest in learning to read music. And as soon as electricity came in, they had jukeboxes in the one at the service station, and one general store had a jukebox, and they always had 70% country blues, and there was always some Louis Jordan records, and the rest would be swing band stuff, like Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey. So I got a pretty good variety of music listening to at an early age, and it all affected me, I'm sure.
I got a big fat mama, she always tease. She does everything to try to please. When I put my arms around the thin ones, fine-nosed babies tumble with ease. Them kind of chicks don't stall. They're willing and ready to fall. I get a kick 'cause the chicks that I pick are just slender, tender, and tall.
Born from the 32 Bar Blues clothing brand, the nonprofit 32 Bar Blues Foundation was established in 2020 to promote American music, literature, photography, and the artists that create within these genres. Jazz, blues, and roots music are of particular focus, all uniquely American art forms that should be nurtured and advanced for the benefit of future generations. Toward these goals, 32 Bar Blues Foundation seeks out and partners with nonprofit arts organizations that provide education, training, opportunity, support, and exposure. Young and emerging artists, as well as established and lesser-known greats, are of equal focus. Through direct 32 Bar Blues corporate support and donations, customer donations, and all profits received from special clothing items and other partner products in the 32 Bar Blues collection, seasonal contributions go directly to the artists and organizations noted in the Arts section of the 32 Bar Blues website. To date, 32 Bar Blues Foundation has contributed more than $200,000 to its nonprofit partners and provided millions of full-page impressions in the 32 Bar Blues catalog. For more information about 32 Bar Blues and its foundation, visit 32barblues.com and click The Arts or go to 32barbluesfoundation.org.
Early on, Mose took what he learned from the old Seaburg jukebox and started writing his own material.
I wrote songs in high school, in grade school. I had a hit in high school, man, called the 14-Day Palmolive Plan. It was about radio commercials, you know. I used to sing that thing, you know, at parties, and it got to be real popular around Tallahatchie County. It was sort of a Louis Jordan type thing about, you know, you turn the radio on and trying to get some music, and somebody comes up, starts talking about the 14-Day Palmolive Plan. That was the idea.
Mose left Hippo and eventually landed at Louisiana State University. It was here that his music and his love of learning blossomed. He not only studied aesthetics, philosophy, and creative writing, but discovered the music of Schoenberg, Ives, and Bartók. The latter would have a big impact on the young man's conception.
When I first heard Bartók's Hungarian sketches, I believe, the piano suite, I got the idea then, you know, for well, why not use the music that I grew up with and a similar sort of thing. So I began thinking about it then, and that was the early 50s. And so I started collecting these little sketches and things, and with that in mind. So by the time I got to New York to stay in '56, I had it pretty well in my head.
After graduating from LSU, Mose came to New York City. There he eventually fell in with a group of musicians who shared a loft on 34th Street. They also shared a common Southern heritage and a love of bebop. Mose became a fixture at the jam sessions held at the Loft. Pianist Bob DeRoe.
And I remember particularly one night, I said, "Who's that?" "Oh, that's Mose Allison playing." Well, you know, with a name like Mose Allison, you know, you learn him pretty quick. And he sounded great. He was playing bebop piano, and I was waiting my turn. So finally, you know, it eased over. Maybe I'd met him before, and I said, "Hey, Mose, can I do a couple?" "Sure," he said. And he let me have the piano. So we were playing the next tune, and suddenly I heard this fresh horn come in, a trumpet. I looked over my shoulder, and Mose had gotten out his horn. He played trumpet, too.
Going to the city is never what it first appears, as Mose Allison discovered. That story just ahead. I'm Nancy Wilson, and it's NPR's Jazz Profiles, a tribute to Mose Allison.
From blues to bluegrass, jazz to country, R&B to rock and roll, we're moved by the proud sound of American music. Welcome to 32 Bar Blues, a fresh groove in the men's clothing world, a place where true originality, craft, and style are valued like the art forms we celebrate. Never curated or private labeled, we design and make the majority of our styles in-house. Cool clothes with enough funk or personality to make you smile, but easy to wear for most any venue. And like our name implies, 32 Bar Blues was born with a heart for the arts. Since our first collection in 2012, we featured more than 100 musicians, writers, and photographers on our pages, giving all profits from the sale of their work directly to them. We also promote a handful of nonprofit arts organizations that deserve extra support. To check out the 32 Bar Blues collection and learn more about our commitment to the arts, visit 32barblues.com.
Life in New York was fast-paced, but for Mose, a little slow to take off. He has said that at first, nothing happened. In fact, nothing was the first three things that happened. While becoming a fixture on the New York scene, he managed to preserve much of his Southern way of looking at the world.
You know, there's a certain stoicism, a certain irony, and exaggerations and stuff like that, and that is still there, you know.
If you're going to the city, better have some cash. If you're going to the city, you better have some cash. Because the people in the city don't mess around with trash. When you get up to the city, you better lock your door. Or when you get up to the city, you better lock your door. You know they'll take what you got, boy, then they'll ask for more.
Eventually, the Southern connection helped introduce him to several well-known horn players who gave Mose his first exposure on the national scene: Stan Getz, Jerry Mulligan, Al Cohn, and Zoot Sims. Buddy Jones, who came to New York a few years ahead of Mose by way of Arkansas.
I met Mose right quick after he came into town. And then we were so young and not working regularly, we would take up a collection of 50 cents or 75 cents apiece, and about 5 of us, and rent a room at Nola's Studios there in New York to jam in every night. And this was mainly Jerry Mulligan and Gene Rowland's doing, and I was the bass player. And then pretty soon Stan Getz wanted a rhythm section to go out with, and so Mose and Frank Isola, the drummer, and I became Stan's rhythm section for a while there whenever he would come back from his big-time jobs to New York.
The gigs with Getz, Al, and Zoot, as well as the sessions at the Loft on 34th Street, continued, and still, Mose kept his singing pretty much to himself. Bob Duro.
I didn't know Mose sang, and I guess he didn't know I sang. And, you know, neither he nor I would even think of singing a song in that setting. This was strictly serious bebop and instrumental blowing. But I never really knew he sang. I thought he was just a cat from Mississippi who loved bebop and was playing.
Everybody's talking about the seventh son. In the whole round world there is only one, and I'm the one. Yes, I'm the one. I'm the one, I'm the one they call the seventh son. I can tell your future, it will come to pass. I can do things for you, make your heart feel glad. Look in the sky, predict the rain. I can tell when a woman's got another man. I'm the one. Yes, I'm the one. I'm the one, I'm the one they call the seventh son.
The Southern folk theme became an albatross for Mose as soon as he made his first record. First of all, Prestige, the label he signed to, wanted to exploit his image as a colorful rustic. Second, because many people, upon hearing him sing on record, thought he was black. Joel Dorn, who produced several of Mose's recordings for Atlantic Records.
The first time I actually saw him, he was playing at a club that used to be in D.C. called the Showboat. And I went to see him, and like many other people, I was stunned to find out that Mose Allison was white.
Back in the 60s when I was playing on the south side of Chicago, I think at the Sutherland Lounge, or maybe it was at the Archway Lounge. I don't know. It was they were both places down on the south side of Chicago. And at the hotel, I got a call from Jet Magazine, and they said they'd like to do an interview. And they asked me, did I go to college? And I said, yeah, I went to LSU. And they said, well, you were the first black man to graduate from LSU. So I said, well, I'm sorry, but I think it's something you should know.
Mose began singing more as his reputation grew. He really had little choice. More people were coming out to hear him sing, and they were no longer satisfied with the 1 or 2 vocals he would include in each set. On the other hand, he was still somewhat reluctant to sing, preferring to focus on the evolution of his piano style. And also, he hadn't really begun writing original material. After leaving Prestige and a short stint with Columbia, Mose landed at Atlantic Records. It was there that he began writing songs with a real passion, and his body of original work blossomed.
I started writing more songs then, singing more, because I had more material to sing. I almost had to write my own repertoire. That's about what it amounted to. So that's when I began that, and when I went with Atlantic, yeah.
Suddenly, his songs weren't simply the expanded blues forms that he had been mining since leaving Mississippi. It seemed like all the aspects of his life, the education, the reading, the hundreds of one-nighters he was playing, the trials and tribulations of living in the 60s, everything came into artistic focus.
How much truth can a man stand? Sitting by the ocean, nothing but perpetual motion. Finger painting in the sand. How much truth can a man stand?
All of my old aesthetics and philosophic background, the stuff, it all started coming together then after, it takes it a while to merge, I guess, because, you got, when you're a jazz player and you're primarily in just playing music for a living, there's a lot of different things going on in New York and all that, so you're just trying to find out what direction do I really want to take, So there's a certain amount of feeling around, deciding what you can live with, what you can go the distance with,
How much truth can the world stand? Left without its daydream. One of a million. So it seems, wondering how it all began, threatened by the works of man, destined for the frying pan. How much truth can a world stand? How much truth can this world stand?
Fans and critics alike began to celebrate this new, original jazz thinker, and to wonder where all these songs and the characters they portrayed came from. Were the songs all aspects of Mose's real life, or were they a kind of fictional narrative? Was he a reporter or an author? As usual, Mose was somewhat circumspect about the details.
I'm not talking. Don't ask me what I have to say. If I said things were splendid, someone would be offended. If I said things were awful, it might just be unlawful. I'm not talking, it just don't pay.
It's all autobiographical, but it's reshuffled around, it's repackaged, and so that it's not complete. It's not straight autobiography, you know. It's translated. To start with, the song has to apply to me. I think, you know, if it doesn't apply to me, well, I don't figure, you know, it's going to apply to anybody else. But I don't want the song to apply only to me, though. So, like, you look for reinforcement in experience of others, or of the newspaper, or a TV set, or whatever, to try to help you universalize your own experience, you know.
I'm not talking.
If his songs are often abstractions, from the particulars of his life to the generalizations of our times, you can still hear loud and clear the struggles of a young man in the music business. For example, his song, Stop This World.
Stop this world, let me off. There's just too many pigs in the same trough. There's too many buzzards sitting on the fence. Stop this world, it's not making sense. Stop this game, deal me out. I know too well what it's all about. I know too well that it had to be. Stop this game, you know it's ruining me.
I think when I wrote Stop This World, it was like when I went through one of those stages where you just have a complete what am I doing here thing, you know, like why am I here? Now and then I used to get these recurrences of compulsion to go back to Mississippi and learn how to farm, you know. I used to say, man, I better get back down there and learn how to farm before my dad dies, because, you know, otherwise I won't have anything to hang on to. So, you know, when you're playing for a living, and when you're playing jazz particularly, and you go through times when you actually wish you could have a 9-to-5 gig in a service station or something, you know, because it's so, you feel so insecure.
Well, I got too smart for my own good. I just don't do the things that I know I should. There's bound to be some better way. I just got one thing more to say, and that's stop this game, you know it's wrecking me.
Did Mose decide to pack his bags and return to the farm? We'll find out in a moment. I'm Nancy Wilson, and you're listening to Jazz Profiles from NPR, National Public Radio.
Hello there, universe. Do you know what you done to me? You let me sample your treasure chest, showed me how to choose the best. Then you gave me lessons in humility. Do you know what you done to me?
Mose Allison didn't return to the farm. Instead, he continued to grow as a songwriter and to travel the country, night after night, plying his trade. Success came and went on a nightly basis, and gradually the business of music receded into the ongoing creative act. Some people read into his lyrics that he was growing cynical. Mose himself liked the irony of writing philosophical songs and then performing them nightly in bars, and saw the process as anything but cynical.
I once heard the phrase, an irony hang-up. Well, I don't know whether I've got an irony hang-up or not, but irony has followed me, like the albatross or something. I can find so many situations that are just completely ironical in my life. Playing in nightclubs, I don't know, I'm not trying to write poems straight out, that you go around and read in literary teas or whatever. I still dig the boogie-woogie, and the feeling, the swing, the rhythmic thing, and I think that's all part of it. That's the reason I'm always surprised when people accuse me of being cynical, because the time and the rhythm and everything, the context that I'm working with, that's a very positive force, the rhythm of jazz and blues or whatever, that whole thing is like a positive force,
His method of songwriting is as down-to-earth as the songs themselves. He basically carries the songs in his head until they are ready to come out. He rarely even writes the idea down.
Truman Capote once said, if you can forget it, it's not worth retaining.
I was walking down a back street just the other night. I got a funny feeling that things weren't right. I heard some heavy footsteps right behind, and I know it wasn't just in my mind. Fool killer's coming, you're getting closer every day. Oh yes, the fool killer's coming. I got to try to make my getaway.
I usually tell people, when they ask me about my songwriting methods, I say, look, they just come to me, they just come to me. And that's about the way it is, it comes to you, the basic phrases and the central ideas, that always just comes to me, and then the work part is sometimes filling it out and embellishing it, figuring out the best way to do it.
You're sitting there yakking right in my face. I guess I'm gonna have to put you in your place. If silence was golden, you couldn't raise a dime. Because your mind is on vacation and your mouth is working overtime.
I like to catch a phrase or something that sounds simple on the surface, but has some underlying meanings. That's one of the things I've always looked for.
Sometimes it took a while for the audience to catch up with him.
And sometimes when I do a song, I notice that people are sort of puzzled for sometimes 2 or 3 years, and then all of a sudden they'll start responding to it. People used to ask me about idioms in my tunes, they would be hard to transfer to foreign languages, and asked me if there was any problem playing in foreign places, and I always responded that it took 10 years before they started picking up on them here, you know.
Because your mind is on vacation and your mouth is working overtime.
Although the Atlantic Records period was a tremendously fertile one for Mose, like all good things, it eventually came to an end. And, as usual, money was at the heart of the matter. Atlantic, like Columbia before it, wanted a hit record for Mose, and producer Joel Dorn was the one who was assigned to come up with the gold.
I was one of those people who thought that, well, I can make Mose more commercial. Here was the company line at Atlantic. Take Mose down to Memphis. Mose is a million seller waiting to happen. And I think most people didn't understand that Mose wasn't a guy you would take and put into another context and then automatically have hit records with. At that time, they used me as like a Kissinger and said, listen, tell Mose you want to go to Memphis, tell him you want to go to Muscle Shoals. If he records down there with those rhythm sections and that great, like Memphis horn section, we know we can get hits. Much to Atlantic's chagrin, the horn charts that he wrote were as far afield from the Memphis kind of record they thought they were getting, because Mose had decided to do a record with horns at the record company's request. So it was a very abstract version of what everybody wanted.
When I make my dynamite heavy soul freaked out record, everything is gonna be just swell. When I make my dynamite heavy soul freaked out disc, I'll be living it up pell-mell. Mountaintop hideaway, 3-car garage, out there hustling that sonic massage. When I make my dynamite heavy soul freaked out solid gold top 40 big beat rock and roll record, everything is gonna be just fine.
The record business came and went, but the road remained a constant for Mose. Although he eventually left Atlantic Records, and for a time during the 70s was without a label to record and distribute his work, instead of turning hard and cynical, Mose became even more philosophical.
People ask me if I'm a romantic. I say, man, sure I'm a romantic. Anybody who goes out and plays as much as I do and has got no better sense to believe that it matters whether he plays well or not has got to be a romantic. I mean, so, like, you know, I feel like I'm trying to do the best I can with what I've got, and I'm trying to make it mean something, you know, without being pompous about it. But I like to think that if you analyze my songs and everything, you'll get something out of it other than just a surface swing or whatever it is, you know.
I just got here day before yesterday. It won't be long and I'll be on my way. So these few days that I'll be around, please don't try to bring me down. I made my entrance on the Greyhound bus. I don't intend to cause a fuss. You like my style, that's fine with me. And if you don't, just let me be.
The hundreds of one-nighters had a profound impact on his piano playing as well. One of the remarkable aspects of Mose Allison's artistic evolution is that he also invented a whole new approach to playing jazz piano, incorporating the rural blues, the urban conventions of bebop, and ultimately elements of Western classical music, based on composers he'd first discovered back at LSU.
I'm trying to unite New Orleans and Vienna. I mean, you know, so much of modern jazz and everything has become more European than you know, it's closer to Schoenberg than it is to Louis Armstrong. And along the way, I also feel like I'm still doing some Kansas City swing and some bebop and some other stuff. So I feel like these elements are all part of what I'm doing.
Biographer Patty Jones traces this evolution in Mose's piano playing to his love for the works of one particular American composer.
He, by osmosis, derived certain elements of Charles Ives's technique. He didn't steal from Ives. What he did was listen to it and find a way to internalize it and then push it out in a different way, or in his own way. What he did borrow from Charles Ives, if you do listen to these improvisation sections, mostly when you listen to him live, are the parallel lines in the left hand, certain melodic ideas, ostinati in the right hand, and just a different flow of the independence, especially in the left hand.
You're listening to a tribute to the William Faulkner of jazz, Mose Allison, on NPR's Jazz Profiles. I'm Nancy Wilson.
Born from the 32 Bar Blues clothing brand, the nonprofit 32 Bar Blues Foundation was established in 2020 to promote American music, literature, photography, and the artists that create within these genres. Jazz, blues, and roots music are of particular focus, all uniquely American art forms that should be nurtured and advanced for the benefit of future generations. Toward these goals, 32 Bar Blues Foundation seeks out and partners with nonprofit arts organizations that provide education, training, opportunity, support, and exposure. Young and emerging artists, as well as established and lesser-known greats, are of equal focus. Through direct 32 Bar Blues corporate support and donations, customer donations, and all profits received from special clothing items and other partner products in the 32 Bar Blues collection, seasonal contributions go directly to the artists and organizations noted in the Arts section of the 32 Bar Blues website. To date, 32 Bar Blues Foundation has contributed more than $200,000 to its nonprofit partners and provided millions of full-page impressions in the 32 Bar Blues catalog. For more information about 32 Bar Blues and its foundation, visit 32barblues.com and click The Arts or go to 32barbluesfoundation.org.
By the 80s, Mose Allison's art was in full flower. Humor intact, he saw commercial failure as just another consequence of the artistic process. He quoted another of his favorite sources.
I think Faulkner said, the artist is the one who never gets it right. There I am in my cowboy suit. All of the women saying, ain't he cute? The gray-haired geezer that you think you see, this ain't me, this ain't me.
And he saw even more irony in the demands and restrictions of being a stylist in jazz. Ultimately, he even questioned whether it was possible to be completely original as an artist.
When I was coming up, the jazz players always told me, well, what you do is you listen a little here, you listen a little there, and you put your own little stuff that you figured out in with it, and you come up with a style. And that was the way I always approached it. Funny thing about it is, when you get a style, then somebody says, oh, he sounds the same way all the time. So, it's like you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't, one of those things. In fact, sometimes when people ask me what I am, I say I'm an illusionist, because I create an illusion of originality by putting things together in a way they haven't been done exactly that way before, So. And this ain't me, this ain't me, this ain't me, this ain't me.
But his impact on other musicians grew stronger over time, as fashions came and went. Today, it has gone way beyond the lyrical or the musical. He has become an important personal and moral force for those who know him, either as a friend, a peer, or simply as a source of inspiration. Bob Dorough.
It was encouraging to me, yes, and deep in my mind, I thought, someday I got to write something as great as Parchman Farm, but I still think I haven't quite achieved that in the way that I felt he dug deep into this history of the South and what he knew of it. It was greatly affecting to me, and I think the results of it may still be brewing in my heart.
Drummer Paul Motion, who first played with Mose in the early 60s and again in the 80s.
I was playing with him at Birdland, the original Birdland on Broadway, 52nd Street, and we were playing opposite John Coltrane with his band. And then I remember at the end of the gig, I was sitting in a booth in the club with John Coltrane, and we were talking, and John asked me where was I going next with Mose? Where were we going next? And I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. I mean, Mose is always on the road, and when he goes on the road, he plays with the local musicians of the different places that he goes to, different towns. And John said, man, that's great. He said, I wish I could do that. And at that time, I didn't understand it. I do now. In other words, Mose could do his thing with no matter who he played with, But John felt that he needed those musicians in his band. So I thought that was pretty incredible.
Musician-producer Ben Sidran.
Well, I think in a lot of ways Mose represents the best of what we're trying to do out here. I mean, we're trying to entertain people, we're trying to deliver a message, we're trying to give people something that's inspirational in some way. And for me, it's humor. It's the fact that he's not sugarcoating anything, but he's making it possible to understand concepts and situations in life in a way where you can absorb them. I mean, that's the big reason. The small reason is that he's fun to go to listen to,
Ever since the world ended, I don't go out as much. People that I once befriended just don't bother to stay in touch. Things that used to seem so splendid don't really matter today. It's just as well the world ended. It wasn't working anyway. Ever since the world ended, there's no more Bible Belt. Remember how we all pretended, going round lying about the way we felt. Every rule has been amended. There's no one keeping score. It's just as well the world ended. We couldn't have taken much more.
Today, the current success of the songs of Mose Allison and the follow-up press and publicity, which includes the release of his biography in time for his 70th birthday, is like a distant echo to Mose. The party may roll on, but it pretty much rolls off his back.
I figured that everything had to happen. That everything that's happened to me had to happen, and it hasn't hurt me that bad. I'm still here, and a lot of the guys I played with over the years, the great players, are not here. And they weren't much older than me. Some of them weren't as old as me, And I've been fortunate in the fact that I'm doing pretty much what I wanted to do, and it amazes me sometimes that I am doing what I want to do and making a living at it. And there's even indication that I might even make money out of it here. If things keep going the way they're going, man, I don't know. I could end up with money.
Biographer Patty Jones.
What Mose is doing is the quintessential American musician, composer. He really has, over the years, taken all of what is American, the jazz style, blues, which is his base, the New Orleans jazz and rhythmic ideas, and then the American classical music of the 20th century, he's really put all of this together in one person and evolved the style from many places. Even though it's based in the blues, it really enunciates so much more than just that in a very simple way, but is very complex in the way that it is intertwined.
I'm a certified senior citizen, and I don't have to pay full fare. You might ignore me, but doctors adore me. I got my Medicaid, got my Medicare.
Now, as he's an older person, as a senior and senior citizen, if you want to call him that, the songs now reflect where he's at in this time of his life and the way that he's seen his life unfold, which makes him even more viable because what you have is a complete circle of where he began as a young man and with young man blues till I'm a certified senior citizen, which is what he sings about more often now.
During the past 40 years, Mose's own world has changed dramatically, yet he's the last one to deliver the last word on his career.
I always say any single thing you say about Mose Allison is going to be wrong. People, for a while, they saying, "Oh, he's a blues piano player," which that's not right. And he does the blues and everything, and that's not right either. I do a lot of other things besides the blues. So any one thing, any attempt to categorize me with a one-liner, is not going to make it. It's not going to cover it.
When I become was and we become were, will there be any sign or a trace of the lovely contour of your face? And will there be someone around with essentially my kind of sound?
Our tribute to Mose Allison was produced and written by Ben Sidran. Post-production engineer, Soraya Muhammad. Special thanks to Alan Schultz at KRML in Carmel, California, Dangia Karras, Gary Alderman, and Carol Troyershank in Madison, Wisconsin, Bob Malik in New Jersey, the NPR viewers in New York and Los Angeles, Keith Middleton at Minnesota Public Radio, St. Paul, and the folks at WBUR in Boston. Jazz Profiles is produced by Tim Owens, assistant producer Madeline Smith. The executive producers are Mary Beth Kirshner and Murray Horwitz.